Hello everyone. I don't know how long this video is going to end up being. Probably an hour or two. You know what I mean. But I feel as though it has to just come out, whatever way it has to come out. It's an immense pleasure, to be honest, to do this series. Max, Sam, and Ricky are all dear friends. I love them very much. And this is a wonderful opportunity for me to finally start talking about, the ideas that I've been developing with my students over the past couple of years. I've been trying to get some of this stuff out there, and lessons online and stuff, lessons, published. But I tend to need to be pushed into these things. So what I'd like to talk about appears very simple, but the implications, I think, are I really think this is kind of the most important principle, really, in improvisation. I call it dovetailing. So let me give a quick illustration of this. I'd like to do a longer video on it in the future, if I ever get around to it. But the basic notion is that there are places on our instrument which we're more likely to fall on during improvisation, or in the playing of a tune or a melody, that we're more likely to fall on than others. So this often consists of open strings or chord tones, for instance. We're in bluegrass playing, especially likely to land on the root of a chord, right? But it kind of depends on the chord. So a lot of melodies land on the third of a C chord in vocal tunes, right? Probably more than most, right? Your Love Is Like a Flower, 9-Pound Hammer, Blue Ridge Cabin Home goes to the E, although it's in the second measure of the C. What else? I suspect Roller Circle, Be Unbroken. Be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. Touches the E, but it doesn't land right there. That one lands on a G. But all of those melodies tend to land on either this or the G, right? So, or the D chord, we tend to land on this A, or this open D here. So it makes sense to build vocabulary around these places. So a lot of Scruggs vocabulary, again, it sounds redundant, but very few people really understand how profound this is. Almost nobody, even advanced players. A lot of Scruggs, almost all G Scruggs vocabulary, is organized around the open third string, right? So it'll either begin or end, or both, on the open G string, or right? I could give 1,000,001 examples. So what does that mean? Well, that means that because we have licks that begin on that note and that end on that note, right? That they have this point where they overlap. So that's why I call it dovetailing. It's an engineering term. Right? So that's, I'm improvising that, right? But it's not like I'm improvising every note. When I'm speaking, I'm not improvising every every word, right? I'm thinking in chunks. You know, Sam, I hope we'll talk about this a lot, because he knows a great deal about linguistics, and the parallels between improvisation and language are quite profound, I think. I hear this phrase a lot, that improvisation is composition sped up, which is not true. That would be like saying speaking is just writing poetry but sped up. It's just nonsense. In poetry, you think about every word. You know, when you're composing, you know, you think on these really small details, but improvisation is really nothing like that. At least that's what I found, and I'm waiting for somebody to prove me wrong, and I suspect that won't happen. Not to be completely arrogant about it, but I'm totally convinced of that. Everywhere I look, that just seems more and more true. So these licks present, you know, one connecting really the two places, the open fifth string to the third string, or sometimes the same note on the second string to the open third. Right? So I am assuming, you know, you'll have a number of things in your vocabulary. You know, up the neck, down the neck, maybe some melodic style stuff like this. Certainly some stuff like this. Or that's kind of the requisite material for this lesson, right? And in the future, I'm going to go through all this stuff, I hope, so that if you're not familiar with that stuff yet, that you can learn it through me. Of course, there are lots of other places you can learn it from already, so if you don't know that already, you can finish the video. There's still a lot to learn from it either way, but to really learn the details of the lesson, you're going to have to know a lot of that stuff already. Okay, so as I said, these licks connect this to this. Okay, it's kind of that simple, right? There are so many pieces of vocabulary that finish on this, that take us to this open G string, right? This open fifth string. And there are so many pieces of vocabulary that are organized around this open third string. So the most important question for me is, what do you do, how do you get into a lick, and how do you get out of it, right? What's your continuation, and what's your you know, preamble? I don't know what a good term for it, but in this case, it's kind of self-explanatory, but I'll explain it anyway. So there are a number of licks that are, say, up the neck, like this, which take us to this open fifth. Right? We often do that, or we go. That one takes us here to this G on the second string, or right, or. Right? These are a lot of things that you should hopefully have in your vocabulary, or right, because you'll need those, right? Those are kind of, like I say, that's the requisite material, because all of this, these licks won't make sense, and you won't be able to play them unless you can get into them. Okay, but fortunately, we have a lot of vocabulary that does get us to that open fifth, or we have melodic style things, right? Or it's a really common lick, or you know, there are you know, a bunch of things, just tons of things. So let's just try stringing some of these things together. Let me just take one at random. How about this one? Now let's look at one of the licks on the page. Let's say this one. What do they sound like? And let's pick a typical Scruggs lick. So what do we end up with? Right. Let's take another lick. How about this? Right. And now let's combine it with that same piece in the middle, which is what this lesson is about. It's connecting this high position to the low. So let's change the Scruggs vocabulary. Let's do this. So we've got this now. Right? So now let's pick a different inner part. Let's do this. So let's do it with let's mix all these possibilities together. Or I could have done excuse me. Or I could have done excuse me. Don't think I did that one yet. I did something similar to it. But you see how you have endless combinations, right? You take certain, different numbers of elements, and you go through all the possible combinations. In mathematics, this is called a Cartesian product, I think. And Sam knows more about this stuff than I do, but let's take say one of these bluesy ones and see what that sounds like. And then excuse me. I can place any Scruggs style thing after it. So what does that sound like? I could do the other one. Or I could do a bluesy one. So I could go right, a little bit of a mess, but I could go or sorry, I could go let me see, because we already went through those possibilities. Well, I could use this other lick. Right? Or I could have gone. Or I could have gone, let me see. Right? Possibilities are just endless, right? And it's not even that many licks. And besides, a lot of these licks, they have all the same elements, right? How many of these licks, just count how many of the licks on the second beat. And by the way, in bluegrass, each measure has 2 beats, right? I consider that a fact. I mean, some may disagree with me, but they're wrong. Bluegrass has 2 beats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Right, it's 2 beats, right? It's like a march. If you look at like Scott Joplin, left hand boom chick doom chick doom chick doom chick, Maple Leaf Rag or whatever, doom chick do chick chick do chick. That's all. He writes usually in 2/4, I believe. I should check. Maybe I could be wrong. Which would be embarrassing. No, yeah, there you go. Maple Leaf Rag. It's in 2/4. So. And it's that kind of accompaniment, comes out of march and all these traditions of bluegrass and march, and they're all kind of mixed together historically. So so to me, bluegrass is a bit of a tangent there, but to me, bluegrass is in 2. So if you look at the second beat in any of these licks, a lot of them hit this note D here. Okay, so again, this is getting to this idea of dovetailing. We can think of many different ways to get from D to G. Right, there are so many different ways to get from D here to G. Right, because it's a place that we're likely to hit. Okay, so we can develop pieces of vocabulary, right? Just to connect to those 2 common places. Okay, so that when you develop a piece of vocabulary, because you're going to hit this particular place, right? It'll just trigger one of those pieces of vocabulary. So incorporating a new piece of vocabulary then becomes automatic, because you've oriented it around places that you're guaranteed to hit in your improvisation at certain times. So many ways of getting from this G to this D. Right, or so many different ways, right? Or some of these bluesy ways, right? Right, so I could combine, excuse me, or I could go, or I could go, or I could go, or I could go, right, or I could go, or I could go, or I could go, or I could go, right, just endless possibilities. And then what if I combine all those different possibilities with one of these? Or right, it's endless. Or I could go, excuse me, what's one I haven't done? There you go, how about that? I could go, or, right, again, it's just, I've never played any of those, or hardly any of those before, right? But because I have lots of vocabulary from here to here, from here to here, they can combine, again, like I said, the Cartesian product of both of them is very large. That could have been a nonsensical statement in mathematical terms, but if you've been following what I'm saying here, you get the point, right? There are the number of ways to combine these little things, these little pieces of vocabulary are large enough to the point though you would never be able to tell if someone's really repeating themselves, right? You wouldn't notice really that they're repeating themselves, because there are too many possibilities for you to be able to notice an exact repetition in a whole tune, a whole set, or a whole album or whatever. It's going to be unique every time if you're smart about your practice and how you develop these little pieces, right? These little pieces of vocabulary, and you work on being adept at combining them in different ways, okay? And thinking, and it gives you. You see what it does? It gives you. You're not thinking about every note, okay? You're just thinking about these little pathways, right? To these common jumping off and landing points around the neck, okay? So that's the essence of the lesson, but perhaps I can go on just a little bit longer trying to incorporate this stuff in a few different places. So like if I was playing, let's find a place where we go to an open fifth, let's say in Foggy Mountain Breakdown. So we might go, Scruggs does this, of course. How about this? You hear that? Now I can go like this. So I landed on this G over the E minor chord, but that's okay because I have, again, you can, because you know you're going to hit that, right? You can develop pieces of vocabulary that you can use. Or I could go, right, or I could go, right, so I could do something like this. Bit of a tangent there, but play with it. You'll start to make sense of it, and if you don't, you know that's okay. You know, take a lesson or two. I'll help you. You know, we all should be taking lessons. You know, I mean, for Christ's sake, Schubert was taking lessons until the day he died. Greatest composer in history. I mean, or at least, you know. There are periods of his output where, you know, you think on 18 months, you know, he writes all this, just some of the greatest masterpieces in history, you know, you know, I forget that Britain quote about, you know, the last 18 months of Schubert's life is the greatest, you know, miracle in musical history or something, and so he was taking lessons, you know, from, you know, one of the greatest counterpoint teachers in Europe at the time, Simon Zechter, who wrote a fugue every day of his life, allegedly. You know, he was still taking lessons, and you know, I think and although he was pretty young when he died, he was like 33 or something. You know, we're you know, we're not above that. Okay, so and we can all make time for that. You know, we can all make time in our lives for that, right? And, you know, nowadays, of course, you can record it. So, you know, if you don't have time to digest it immediately afterwards, you can come back to it, you know, when you do have a little bit more time. But you know, feel free to take lessons on this stuff, you know. I love to teach. It's really important to me. And, you know, I'd like to think that you know, I've certainly gotten better at it over the past couple of years, but whether I'm any good at it or not, well, you can see what you think from this video. But I do like to help people, and I'm happy to give up my time for really not very much money. So like I say, all these possibilities, it's just endless, really. So, you know, I'm tempted to go on with examples, but you know, say you're at a tag, something like, and then you're into the backup, right? I'm just connecting to the bluegrass pause, right? So you play the last note of the melody, da 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 da, 2, 3. So you really get 4 bars, and if you listen to Flatt and Scruggs recording, it's often 3. But it's typical these days to even out the phrases and to play 4, which I think is kind of less beautiful. But often you'll have 4 bars of space, right? It's going to be let me see. So that's the typical kind of lick that you'll use. 2, 3, 4. And then you're into the backup. So if we land on a G on the melody here, we could do something like, then we could hit one of our licks. Doesn't matter. It could be the first one that I was studying with Kristen, and I asked her this, how do I get from these 2 places? And she said, well, here's one. And then also you can do, right, right? And that's enough. You don't need more than 2. But like I say, if you want to expand your vocabulary, so I could do da 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 da. Your love is like a flower ends like. Backwards. Or I could have gone something like this. I'm just mixing them together randomly. It sounds good, you know. So what else? Excuse me. Okay, that one was I went a little bit overboard there, but I'm just trying stuff. I'm just trying to play something different. I could do one that's a little more subtle but still bluesy. And then I'm into the backup again. Possibilities are just endless. It could be in between a break, right? You could be coming off a C chord. I wasn't prepared for that, so let me do that again. This is again, so same tune. Love is like a flower. I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. I think I don't want to belabor the point too much, but like I say, possibilities are really endless. So enjoy that, and if you don't, complain to your heart's content in the comments, and I will be very sad. But if this isn't your thing, you know, tell me what is your thing, and I'll do a video on it in the future, maybe. So I think that's about it. Let me think. Is there anything else to add? Believe it or not, folks, there's no script here. This is totally from the heart. So, anything else? Don't think so, really. That's about the size of it, folks. Okay, so, yeah, I mean,